The memory hits Marcus Crawford at 3:47 a.m., the same time it always does. 2 years ago, Fresno group home. His sister Riley's small hand gripping his arm so tight her fingernails left crescents in his skin. She was 8 years old and crying without making a sound, the way kids learn to cry when noise brings worse things than silence. The foster father's boots were heavy on the hallway floor. Marcus remembers standing between those boots and his sister. He remembers being 14 and barely 100 pounds. He remembers thinking maybe if he made himself bigger, stood straighter, maybe the man would see something worth respecting. He was wrong. The first hit knocked him sideways into the wall. The second put him on the floor. Riley screamed then. Marcus tried to get up, tried to be the wall between her and the world. But 14-year-old bones break easy. 14-year-old muscles give out fast. He remembers the taste of blood. He remembers the ceiling spinning. He remembers Riley being pulled away, her fingers slipping from his, and the last thing he heard was her voice calling his name. They separated them the next day. Different homes, different cities. The social worker said it was for the best. Marcus ran that night, took nothing but the clothes he wore and a promise he whispered to himself in the dark. Next time I won't be too small. Marcus wakes in the back of a 1992 Ford Bronco, rusted through in places, windows that don't roll down, and a tailgate held shut with coat hanger wire. The Bakersfield rail yard sits heavy and quiet in the pre-dawn heat, the kind of heat that pushes down on your shoulders and makes breathing feel like work. He's 16 now, still not big, still not strong, but he's learned things in 2 years that no classroom could teach him. He learned that hunger sharpens the mind, that cold teaches patience, that invisibility is a skill you practice until it becomes instinct. The sun breaks over the oil derricks east of town, turning the sky the color of a fresh bruise. Marcus sits up, feels his spine crack in 3 places, and reaches for the plastic jug of water he keeps wedged behind the passenger seat. 1 capful to rinse his mouth, 2 to wash his face, 3 to drink. He's got maybe a week's worth left if he's careful. If he's not, he's got 3 days. The notebook comes out next. Spiral-bound, water-damaged pages filled with his cramped handwriting. Monday through Sunday. Times. Locations. Patterns. The dumpster behind North High School cafeteria gets emptied Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. The kitchen staff leaves the back door propped open. Mondays and Thursdays between 2 and 3 for smoke breaks. The security guard at the Shell station on Oak Street takes his bathroom break every night at 11:45, walks to the Quick Trip across the street, leaves the register unguarded for exactly 7 minutes. Marcus doesn't steal from the register. That's not his game. But he knows the pattern, because knowing patterns keeps you alive on the streets. You learn to read the world like a book written in rhythms and routines. People are creatures of habit, and habits make them predictable. And predictability is the difference between eating and starving. He pulls on a faded gray t-shirt 3 sizes too big and climbs out of the Bronco. The rail yard is empty this early. Just him and the ghosts of freight trains and the distant sound of traffic on Highway 99. He stretches, winces at the permanent ache in his lower back from sleeping on steel and springs, and starts walking. The road takes 40 minutes on foot, past the industrial district where the air tastes like petroleum and rubber, through the residential streets where sprinklers hiss on perfect lawns, and nobody notices the skinny kid in the too big shirt walking past their houses, past the elementary school where he sometimes sits and watches kids on the playground, and wonders if Riley still likes swings. North High School sits on the north edge of town like a fortress made of brick and broken dreams. Marcus doesn't go inside. He's not enrolled, hasn't been enrolled anywhere since Fresno. Instead, he circles around back, finds his bench, the concrete cracked and sun-bleached, with a perfect view of the student parking lot and a straight line of sight to the cafeteria dumpster. He sits, he pulls out his book, The Count of Monte Cristo, water-damaged and spine-broken, rescued from a little free library box 3 months ago. He's read it twice already. The story of a man betrayed, imprisoned, who escapes and builds himself into something unstoppable. Who waits? Who plans? Who strikes when the world least expects it? Marcus understands waiting. The students arrive in waves, first the early ones, the athletes and overachievers, then the masses, the ordinary kids with ordinary problems, then the late ones screeching into the parking lot with minutes to spare before first bell. Marcus watches them all, not because he wants to be them. He learned that lesson early. He watches because watching teaches you things. You learn to read people by the way they move. A cop walks with weight on his heels, shoulders back, scanning. An addict moves in jerks and starts eyes never landing on anything for long. A rich kid walks like the world is a red carpet rolled out specifically for his feet. That's how Marcus first notices her. The girl who doesn't walk like anyone else. She appears on a Tuesday in mid-October. Dark hair pulled back in a ponytail that's coming loose. Ripped jeans that are ripped from actual wear, not some designer's idea of distressed. Black Converse with the rubber wearing thin. A plain white tank top and a leather jacket draped over one arm, despite the 90-degree heat already baking the asphalt. But it's not what she wears. It's how she moves. Head down but shoulders square. Eyes forward but not looking at anyone. She walks like someone who's learned that being noticed brings trouble. Like someone who's practiced the art of taking up as little space as possible while still moving through the world. Marcus recognizes it because he invented it. He watches her for 2 weeks straight. Same bench, same book, same invisibility. She arrives every morning at 7:52, parks in the back corner of the lot far from the clusters of students. Walks the long way around to the main entrance, avoiding the quad where the popular kids gather. Eats lunch alone on the far bleachers of the football field. Leaves every day at 3:07, cutting through the alley behind the abandoned bowling alley to shave 10 minutes off her walk home. The leather jacket never leaves her possession. Even in the heat, she carries it. Marcus sees her touch it, sometimes her fingers finding a small silver pin on the collar. He can't make out the details from his bench, but he knows symbols when he sees them. That jacket means something. That pin means something. On day 9 of watching her, Marcus sees something else. She's not alone in the gym's second-floor window at 5:30 p.m. He shouldn't be there to see it, but he is waiting for the cafeteria dumpster's Tuesday evening deposit. Through the window, he watches her hit a heavy bag. Not the flailing wild swings of someone playing at violence. Calculated strikes, footwork, defense. She's training for something. On day 12, he sees the boy start following her. Preston Ashford drives a lifted white Chevy Silverado that probably cost more than Marcus has seen in his entire life. Brand new, spotless, never hauled anything heavier than a gym bag. Preston is tall, athletic, in the way that comes from personal trainers and supplements. He has the kind of smile that looks friendly in yearbook photos and cruel everywhere else. Marcus has watched Preston for 2 weeks too. Different reasons. Preston is a predator, and predators have patterns worth knowing. He runs with a pack. A thick-necked enforcer named Derek Kane who wrestles varsity and has Division I scholarship offers. A sharp-tongued cheerleader named Sarah Jenkins who films everything on her phone. They orbit Preston like moons around a planet, reflecting his light, amplifying his gravity. Preston started noticing the girl on day 4, started approaching her on day 5. Marcus was too far away to hear the words, but he could read the body language. Preston's entitled lean in, the girl's polite step back. Preston's smile getting tighter, the girl's shoulders getting squarer. By day 8, Preston's smile was gone entirely. By day 10, Derek was involved. By day 12, they were following her to her car. The girl never acknowledged them, never engaged. She walked her route, kept her head down, and disappeared into that alley behind the bowling alley every single day at 3:07. Marcus knows what's coming. He's seen this story before. Different city, different players, same ending. Rich kids with too much power and too little consequence decide that the word no is an insult that needs correction. They corner. They intimidate. They take what they think they're owed. And nobody stops them because nobody sees the girl who makes herself invisible. Except Marcus Caesar. On this particular Tuesday, the temperature hits 96 degrees by noon, heat that makes the air shimmer and tempers run short. Marcus sits on his bench with his book open, but his eyes on the parking lot. The final bell rings at 3:05. Students pour out in a flood of noise and movement. The girl emerges at 3:07 exactly. Same routine, same route, head down, shoulder square, leather jacket over her arm. Preston's white Silverado doesn't head toward the wealthy suburbs on the east side of town. It rolls slowly toward the back lot. Derek in the passenger seat, Sarah in the back phone already up and recording. Marcus closes his book. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from the weight of the choice in front of him. Every survival instinct he's honed over 2 years is screaming at him to stay on the bench, stay invisible, stay alive. This is not your fight. This is not your sister. This is not your responsibility. But he's standing up anyway, slipping his book into his threadbare backpack, starting to walk. The alley behind the old bowling alley smells like rotting cardboard and piss baked in the sun. Narrow, shadowed despite the afternoon light. High brick walls on both sides, dumpsters creating natural choke points. A place where screams die against brick and nobody looks twice. Marcus reaches the mouth of the alley 30 seconds after the girl enters. He presses himself against the brick wall, moving in the silence he's perfected over 2 years of invisible living. His heart hammers against his ribs. His hands won't stop shaking. The Silverado's already parked diagonally across the far exit, blocking it completely. Preston leans against the grill, arms crossed, that smile back on his face. Derek stands a few feet away, cracking his knuckles in a way that would be comical if he wasn't 6'2" and 200 pounds of muscle. Sarah perches on the truck's tailgate, phone up, recording. The girl stands in the middle of the alley, trapped, but not panicking. Marcus can see it in her posture. She's calculating distances, looking for exits. Her free hand has moved to the leather jacket, fingers touching that silvered pin. Preston's voice echoes off the brick. I don't get it, Sienna. So that's her name. I invite you to the lake house. Preston continues, pushing off the truck and taking a step forward. I offer to introduce you to people who actually matter in this dust bowl of a town. And you treat me like trash. Do you know who my dad is? I don't care who your dad is, Preston. Her voice is steady, stronger than Marcus expected. Move the truck. Let me pass. What? Derek steps closer, his shadow falling over her. You going to call your trailer park family? You think because you wear that dirty leather, you're tough? Sienna takes a step back. Her eyes dart to the exits, both blocked. Her hand tightens on the leather jacket. You have no idea what you're messing with, she says quietly. There's something in her voice, not a threat, a warning, a statement of fact delivered with absolute certainty. Preston laughs. It's an ugly sound. Grab her bag, Derek. Let's see what she's so defensive about. Derek moves fast. Varsity wrestler fast. He lunges, grabbing the strap of her backpack and yanking hard. Sienna tries to dodge, but she's not fast enough. The strap jerks her forward. She stumbles, falls hard onto the asphalt. The sound of her knees and palms hitting concrete makes Marcus's teeth ache. The leather jacket spills from her arms. Derek kicks it away, sends it skidding into a puddle of something dark and oily. Preston's laugh gets louder. Sarah zooms in with her phone. Not so tough now, are we? Sienna is on her hands and knees, breathing hard. Marcus can see the blood on her palms where the asphalt tore skin. He sees her looking at the jacket, at the silver pin. Her lips move, whispering something he can't hear. Every fiber of Marcus's being is screaming. Run. Hide. This is not your fight. You're barely 120 pounds. Derek could break you in half. Preston's father is one of the richest men in Bakersfield. You're nobody. You're nothing. You're a ghost. But Riley's voice is in his head. The sound of her calling his name while he lay on the floor, too small, too weak, too broken to save her. Next time I won't be too small. Marcus steps out of the shadows. Hey, his voice cracks on the word. 14-year-old muscle memory of fear making his throat tight. Three heads turn. Derek, Preston, Sienna. Marcus clears his throat, tries again. Louder, firmer. Leave her alone. For a moment, nobody moves, nobody speaks. Preston just stares at this scrawny kid in an oversized gray shirt and shoes held together with duct tape stepping between them and their target. Then Preston starts laughing. Real laughter this time. Uncontrolled. He actually doubles over, hands on his knees, wheezing. Are you kidding me? Preston manages between gasps. Is this a joke? Who the hell is this homeless rat? Derek isn't laughing. Derek is sizing Marcus up the way wrestlers do, looking for weaknesses, weight distribution, fighting stance. He sees all of it, sees the truth of what Marcus is. No threat at all. Marcus keeps walking forward anyway, puts himself between Sienna and the two much larger boys. His hands are shaking so hard he shoves them in his pockets to hide it. Just let her walk away, Marcus says. His voice is steadier now, not because he's brave, because he's already made his choice, and once you make the choice, the fear becomes background noise. You don't want to do this. Preston straightens up, smile fading. Listen to me, garbage. He points a finger at Marcus's chest. Walk away right now or I'm going to let Derek break your jaw. From behind him, Marcus hears Sienna's voice, urgent, desperate. Don't. They'll kill you. Just go. Marcus doesn't look at her, keeps his eyes on Preston and Derek. I'm not leaving. Derek moves first. The punch is a right hook, looping and heavy. Marcus sees it coming, not because he's trained, because he's spent 2 years on the streets where reading violence is survival. He ducks, barely. The fist whistles past his ear, close enough that he feels the air move. Marcus doesn't think. Thinking gets you killed. He throws a punch of his own. Wild, desperate, driven by nothing but adrenaline and the memory of being too small. His fist connects with Derek's nose. There's a crunch, cartilage giving way. Blood exploding over Derek's lips, down his chin onto his expensive shirt. For one perfect second, the world freezes. Derek touches his nose, looks at his fingers, sees the blood. His eyes go wide with something beyond anger, beyond rage, something primal and terrible. You're dead, Derek whispers. Then he tackles Marcus into the brick wall. The impact drives every molecule of air from Marcus's lungs. His head snaps back cracks against brick. White stars explode across his vision. Before he can recover, Derek's hands are on him, spinning him, throwing him to the ground. The first kick catches Marcus in the ribs. The second, the third. Marcus hears something crack inside his chest. Feels a pain so bright and sharp, it whites out his vision entirely. He curls into a ball, instinctively, hands over his head, knees pulled to his chest, trying to protect anything vital. Derek's boots are heavy, steel-toed work boots that Preston probably bought him. Each impact is a bomb going off in Marcus's body. Ribs, spine, kidneys, thigh. Derek is methodical, aiming for damage, aiming to break things that don't heal right. Marcus counts the kicks. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the only thing keeping him conscious. The counting, the discipline, the refusal to let go. 5, 6, 7. Get him up! Preston's voice, distant, distorted. Get him up, I want a piece. Hands grab Marcus's shirt, haul him to his knees. His head lolls forward. Blood drips from his mouth onto the asphalt. He can't see straight, can't breathe without agony, but he's still counting. 8, 9. Preston's fist crashes into Marcus's face. His nose explodes. More blood, more pain. The stars in his vision turn to full constellations. He tastes copper and salt, feels his consciousness slipping like sand through fingers. Somewhere far away, Sienna is screaming, "Stop, stop it." Marcus hears her move, hears the scuffle, hears Preston's voice ugly and vicious. "Stay down, bitch." The sound of Sienna hitting the ground again cuts through Marcus's fog. He tries to move, tries to help her, but his body won't respond, won't obey. He's broken, used up, done. Another boot to his stomach. Marcus convulses, dry heaving. Nothing comes up. He hasn't eaten since yesterday. His vision is tunneling, darkness creeping in from the edges. His counting slips. Was that 10-11? Does it matter anymore? Through the blood and the pain and the approaching darkness, Marcus sees Sienna. She's crawling on her hands and knees toward the puddle where her leather jacket landed. Her fingers find it, dig into the lining, pull out something small, black, a device of some kind. She presses a button on it, holds it with shaking hands, tears streaming down her face as she looks at Marcus's broken body. "I'm sorry," she sobs. "I'm so sorry." Preston sees the device. Something changes in his face. Confidence cracking, fear creeping in. Real fear. "Derek, let's go. Leave the trash. We're out of here." Derek delivers one final kick, the worst one, catches Marcus directly in the side. Marcus hears the crack, feels something fundamental give way inside him. The darkness rushes in like a wave. Tires squeal, rubber burning against pavement. The Silverado reverses wildly out of the alley. The engine roars. The sound fades. Silence settles over the alley, broken only by Marcus's wet, bubbling breathing. And Sienna's crying. She crawls to him. Her hands, still bleeding from her own fall, touch his face with impossible gentleness. "Hey, hey, look at me." Her voice breaks. "Why did you do that? Why did you do that for me?" Marcus tries to speak, tries to tell her about Riley, about being too small, about the promise he made in the dark 2 years ago. But all that comes out is a wet, choking cough. Blood bubbles at his lips. His eyes start to roll back. The darkness swallows everything. Light, sound, pain. The last thing Marcus hears isn't sirens, isn't an ambulance. It's a sound like thunder. Low, distant, growing closer. A vibration that seems to shake the ground beneath him. The rumble of engines. Heavy engines. Powerful engines. Getting louder. Getting closer. The darkness takes him completely. When Marcus opens his eyes, the first thing that hits him is the smell. Not the chemical sting of hospital disinfectant, not the plastic and fluorescent hum of county emergency rooms. This smell is different, rich, lived in, dangerous. Tobacco, hand-rolled cigarettes, and cheap cigars, the smoke yellowing the ceiling over years. Worn leather, not new car leather, but the kind that's been beaten by wind and rain and sun until it's soft as skin. Stale beer, motor oil, gun cleaner, and underneath it all, antiseptic. Medical grade, but not institutional. Marcus tries to open both eyes. His right eye won't cooperate, swollen, completely shut. Through the narrow slit of his left eye, the world is a blur of shadows and dim light. He's lying on a couch, leather, surprisingly comfortable. His torso is wrapped in thick white bandages pulled tight enough that breathing is work. An IV line runs into his left arm, taped down with medical precision, feeding him clear fluids from a bag hanging on a makeshift stand. He tries to move. Mistake. Pain detonates through his entire rib cage, makes you see white, makes you forget how to breathe. He gasps, which hurts worse, which makes him gasp again, a terrible cycle that ends with him frozen and panting through his teeth. "Easy, kid." A voice like gravel being crushed under a boot heel. Deep, resonant, a voice that commands without needing volume. A shadow detaches from the wall, moves closer, resolves into a man. He's massive, 6'4" at least, built like he was carved from a single block of granite and only roughly shaped into human form. His beard is thick, shot through with gray and black in equal measure. Tattoos cover both arms, completely intricate, work faded by years, and sun into blues and greens and blacks that blend into his skin. He wears a black leather vest over a white t-shirt. On the front of the vest, a patch. On the bottom, Marcus can't see, but he doesn't need to. He knows what this is, who this is. Easy, the man repeats, placing a hand the size of a catcher's mitt on Marcus's shoulder. Not rough, firm, keeping him still. You've got 3 broken ribs, a severe concussion, a fractured orbital bone, and internal bruising that looks like you got hit by a freight train. You move too fast, you're liable to puncture a lung. Marcus tries to speak. His throat is sandpaper. Nothing comes out but a croak. The man pulls a chair over, wood groaning under his weight as he sits. He's close now. Close enough that Marcus can see his eyes. Hard, gray as old steel. Eyes that have seen every ugly thing the world has to offer and decided to stare back. Water's on the table next to you, the man says. Small sips. Marcus's hand shakes as he reaches for the cup. His fingers barely work. The man doesn't help, just watches as Marcus struggles to grip the plastic, to lift it to his lips, to swallow without choking. It takes forever. When Marcus finally sets the cup down, he's exhausted from the effort. "Where am I?" Marcus manages. His voice sounds wrong, broken. "You're safe," the man says. "That's what matters." Marcus's working eye focuses past the man, takes in the space for the first time. It's huge. Warehouse huge. A long wooden bar runs along one wall, bottles and glasses arranged with military precision. A pool table sits in the corner, the felt worn but clean. Motorcycles. 3 of them parked near what looks like a garage door. Harleys, chrome gleaming even in the dim light. Men move in the background, big men, quiet men, all wearing the same leather vests. This is a clubhouse. Hell's Angels. Marcus's pulse spikes. Fight or flight trying to kick in, but he can't fight, can't flight, can barely breathe. The man sees the panic. "I said you're safe, I mean it." He leans forward, elbows on his knees. The chair groans again. "My name is Dutch Wolf. That girl you took a beating for, that's my daughter Sienna." Everything clicks into place. The leather jacket, the silver pin, the panic button device. The rumble of motorcycles arriving just as Marcus lost consciousness. "Is she?" Marcus tries. She's fine," Dutch says. "Bruised knees, bruised ego, thanks to you." His hard stare softens for just a fraction of a second, an almost imperceptible shift. "She told me everything. Said some scrawny kid stepped out of the shadows and threw himself to the wolves so she could hit the panic button." Dutch reaches into his pocket, pulls out Marcus's battered copy of The Count of Monte Cristo, sets it gently on the couch next to him. "My boys found this in your backpack. She said you were reading it on a bench, been watching her for 2 weeks. Marcus's heart hammers. I wasn't trying to." "I know what you were trying to do." Dutch cuts him off, not angry, matter of fact. "You were trying to survive, trying to be invisible. I had my boys do some digging while you were unconscious. Marcus Crawford, age 16, no family, no address, ran from a group home in Fresno 2 years back. You've been living in a rusted-out Ford Bronco behind the train yard. You've got nothing. You are nobody. You're a ghost." Each word lands like a blow. Not because Dutch is cruel, because he's right. Marcus feels the shame rise hot in his chest, the humiliation of being seen, of being known. "I know," Marcus whispers. "Shut up and listen," Dutch snaps. Not angry, commanding, authority absolute. "I'm not insulting you, I'm stating facts. You have nothing. No reason to care about this world because this world sure as hell doesn't care about you." He leans closer. "Yet you threw your life away from my daughter, a girl you don't even know." Why? Marcus looks away, at the ceiling, at anywhere but those eyes. I just, I couldn't watch it happen. Not again. The last two words slip out before he can stop them. Dutch catches them. Not again, he repeats. You've seen this before. It's not a question. Marcus closes his eye, sees Riley, hears her voice. Yeah. Dutch studies him for a long moment. The silence in the clubhouse deepens. The men in the background have stopped moving, stopped talking, waiting, watching their president with this broken kid on the couch. Finally, Dutch speaks. His voice drops to a low, dangerous rumble. In my world, a debt of blood is the only currency that matters. You bled for my blood. That means I owe you. You don't owe me anything, Marcus protests weakly. Just let me heal up and I'll go back to the yards. Dutch stands, towers over Marcus. The look in his eyes is absolute, final. The yards are gone, kid. I had my boys tow that piece of junk Bronco to the scrap heap 3 hours ago. Panic flares in Marcus's chest, real panic. What? Why, that was my home. That was a metal coffin, Dutch corrects coldly. You don't sleep in dirt anymore. You saved a Hell's Angel's daughter. You think I'm gonna let the guy who saved my little girl sleep in the mud like a TM? He taps the leather of his vest right over his heart. The club would lose every ounce of respect we have. Marcus tries to sit up. Pain explodes through him. Dutch doesn't help, just watches as Marcus struggles and fails, and finally collapses back onto the couch, panting. You're under my roof now, Dutch says. You heal up here, you eat at my table, and when you're back on your feet, we're going to have a long talk about your future. But first, his eyes go even harder. There's some business I need to attend to. The heavy metal door at the far end of the clubhouse slams open. The sound echoes like a gunshot. Two massive bikers walk in. Between them, struggling, weakly bleeding from his nose and mouth, is Derek Kane. His expensive clothes are torn. His tough guy facade is completely gone, replaced by the raw animal terror of a boy who's just realized that monsters are real and they know his name. Dutch doesn't even look at Derek, keeps his eyes locked on Marcus. Rest up, ghost, he says softly. A smile spreads across his bearded face. It's the most terrifying thing Marcus has ever seen. The doctor will be back to check on you in a few hours. I have some business with these rich boys. We're going to teach them a lesson about consequences. Dutch turns and walks toward the back room. His heavy boots echo on the concrete floor. Derek sees him coming, starts thrashing, screaming, begging. Please, please, I didn't know who she was. I swear to God, I didn't know. The door to the back room opens. Dutch grabs Derek by the collar and drags him inside like he weighs nothing. The door slams shut. It's soundproofed, Marcus realizes. Thick steel with heavy seals, built to contain noise. It doesn't contain it completely. The first scream is high, panicked. A boy realizing that money and privilege and a wrestling scholarship mean nothing in this room. The sound cuts off abruptly, muffled, then starts again, lower, wetter, more desperate. Marcus lies on the couch staring at the ceiling, listening to Derek Kane's world end behind that soundproof door. He should feel something, horror maybe, disgust, moral outrage. He doesn't. He feels satisfied. The realization sits in his gut like a stone, cold and heavy and undeniable. This violence being done on his behalf doesn't sicken him. It feels like justice, like the universe finally balancing a scale that's been tilted wrong for 16 years. The screaming goes on for a while, then stops. The door opens. Dutch walks out washing his hands with a red shop rag. His knuckles are bruised, but his expression is completely unchanged. Calm, almost peaceful. Two other men drag Derek out. He's unconscious. His right hand hangs at an unnatural angle, already swelling to twice its normal size. They carry him toward a side exit like they've done this 100 times before. Dutch looks over at Marcus. Their eyes meet. Marcus should look away, should be afraid, should remember that he's lying helpless in a room full of men who just tortured someone in the next room. He doesn't look away. Dutch nods slowly, a small gesture, recognition passing between them, understanding. Marcus took a beating in an alley. Derek took a beating in a soundproofed room. The accounts are balanced. Get some sleep, kid, Dutch says. Tomorrow we deal with the other one. The next morning, Marcus wakes to the sound of motorcycles. A dozen of them, at least maybe more engines, rumbling to life outside the clubhouse. He's been moved at some point during the night. Not on the couch anymore. In a small room with a real bed, clean sheets, a window with bars on it, but a window. Someone left a tray of food on the bedside table. Eggs, toast, bacon, real food, still warm. Marcus eats mechanically. His body needs fuel. Broken ribs need calories to heal. Take what you're given. Don't ask questions. Earn your place. The door opens without knocking. A woman walks in. Late 30s tattoos running up both arms, dark hair pulled back tight. She's carrying a medical bag. I'm Sarah, she says, not the cheerleader Sarah. This is a different person entirely. Not a nurse, but I've patched up enough bikers to know what I'm doing. Dutch wants me to check your ribs. She's efficient, professional, unwraps the bandages, probes his torso with experienced fingers. Marcus hisses in pain but doesn't pull away. She rewraps him tighter, adds fresh gauze to a cut above his eye he didn't even know he had. You'll live, she says, packing up her kit, but you need to stay down for at least a week. Those ribs move wrong, you'll puncture a lung. Dutch says you can stay as long as you need. What's the catch, Marcus asks. Sarah smiles. It's not a kind smile. Catch is you earn your keep when you're healed. This isn't charity, kid. Dutch doesn't do charity. You work, you eat. You don't work, you leave. Fair enough. Good answer. She heads for the door, then pauses. That took guts, what you did. Stupid, but guts. She leaves without waiting for a response. Marcus lies back down, listens to the motorcycles leaving. A whole convoy. He wonders where they're going, wonders what dealing with the other one means. He finds out that evening. The news plays on a small TV in the corner of his room. A reporter stands in front of a massive mansion in the wealthy Seven Oaks neighborhood. Police tape, flashing lights. The reporter's face is carefully neutral as she speaks. Breaking news tonight from Seven Oaks, where police were called to the home of prominent real estate developer William Ashford following reports of a home invasion. According to sources, multiple armed men entered the property late last night. No arrests have been made. Mr. Ashford and his son Preston were not harmed, though sources say the family is cooperating with investigators. More on this story as it develops. The camera cuts away. Marcus catches just a glimpse of William Ashford in the background, standing in his doorway, looking small, looking scared, looking like a man who just learned that all the money in the world can't protect you from men who don't care about money. The door to Marcus's room opens again. This time it's Sienna. She's carrying a plate of dinner. Her knees are bandaged, her palms wrapped in gauze, but she's walking steady, strong. Hey, she says quietly. Hey. She sets the plate down. Mac and cheese, meatloaf, green beans. Marcus hasn't had a meal like this in 2 years. She sits in the chair by his bed, doesn't speak for a long moment, just looks at her hands. Why did you do it? She finally asks. Her voice is small, vulnerable in a way that doesn't match the tough exterior. You didn't know me. You didn't owe me anything. Why did you step in? Marcus thinks about his answer, thinks about Riley, about being 14 and too small, about the promise he made in the dark. Because I could, he says simply, and someone had to. Sienna's eyes fill with tears. She doesn't cry, just lets them sit there suspended, refusing to fall. I'm sorry, she whispers. I'm so sorry they hurt you. If I had just... Don't, Marcus interrupts. You didn't do this. They did. And now they're paying for it. My dad broke Derek's hand, she says. Crushed it with a hammer. He'll never throw a football again. His scholarship is gone. Marcus nods. I heard screaming. And last night they went to Preston's house. I don't know what they did, but my dad came back and said Preston's going to boarding school in Switzerland, leaving tonight. The family's terrified. Marcus absorbs this, thinks about Preston's cruel smile, Derek's methodical kicks, the feeling of his ribs cracking. Good, he says. Sienna looks at him, really looks at him, seeing something in his face that makes her sit back. You're not scared of this, she says. It's not a question. Of my dad, of the club, of what they do. Should I be? Most people are. Marcus considers this. I've been scared every day for 2 years. Scared of cops. Scared of other homeless people. Scared of starving. Scared of freezing. Scared of disappearing and nobody even noticing. He meets her eyes. Your dad scares me, but he also pulled me out of that alley, fed me, put a roof over my head. First person to do that in 24 months. So yeah, he's terrifying, but he's also the reason I'm not dead. I'll take terrifying over dead. Sienna's tears finally fall. She reaches out, takes his hand, carefully avoiding the IV line. Her grip is strong. Thank you, she whispers, for being brave when you didn't have to be. Thank you for hitting that button, Marcus replies, for not leaving me there. They sit in silence, two kids from completely different worlds who found themselves in the same alley at the same moment, connected now by blood and violence, in a debt neither of them fully understands yet. Eventually, Sienna stands. I'll come check on you tomorrow, she says. Bring you more books if you want. My dad's got a whole library downstairs, tons of classics. I'd like that. She leaves. The door closes. Marcus eats his dinner, slowly savoring every bite. His ribs scream with each swallow, but he doesn't care. This is real food, a real bed, a real room. For the first time in 2 years, Marcus Crawford falls asleep without one eye open, without listening for footsteps, without wondering if he'll wake up to cops or cold or something worse. He sleeps deep and dreamless in a room full of monsters who've decided he's worth protecting, and for now, that's enough. 3 weeks pass in the clubhouse like a fever dream. Marcus heals slow, bones knitting themselves back together one painful day at a time. The bruises fade from purple to yellow, to green, to gone. His eye opens fully by day 7. He can breathe without feeling like knives are stabbing his lungs by day 12. By day 18, he can stand without the room spinning. The clubhouse operates on rhythms Marcus learns to read like music. Wake at 6, coffee brewing in the industrial pot by the bar, thick and black enough to strip paint. Breakfast at 7, communal, the old ladies cooking for whoever stayed the night. Then work. Always work. Dutch doesn't coddle, doesn't make exceptions. On day 4, when Marcus can finally walk without holding the wall, Dutch appears in his doorway at dawn. You eat my food, you work, Dutch says, no preamble, no gentle reintroduction. Just facts stated plainly. He tosses a pair of grease-stained coveralls onto the bed. Go see Gunner in the garage. Tell him you're the new shop rat. The garage takes up half the warehouse. Concrete floors permanently stained with oil and transmission fluid. Tool chests taller than Marcus lined against the walls, every drawer labeled in neat block letters. 3 hydraulic lifts. 2 welding stations. The smell of metal and rubber and gasoline, so thick you can taste it. Gunner is a mountain of a man with a beard that reaches his chest and arms like tree trunks. Tattoos cover every inch of visible skin except his face. He's elbow deep in a Harley engine when Marcus approaches, pulling pieces apart with the kind of easy familiarity that comes from doing something 10,000 times. You the kid? Gunner asks without looking up. Yeah. You know bikes? No. You know tools? Some. Gunner pulls his arms out of the engine, wipes his hands on a rag, looks at Marcus for the first time. His eyes are surprisingly kind under all that beard and ink. Dutch says you're smart, says you got observation skills. That true? I guess. We'll find out. Gunner points to a broom leaning against the wall. Sweep the floor. All of it. Get under the lifts behind the tool chests, anywhere oil might have dripped or parts might have rolled. When you're done, organize the socket sets. They're all mixed up. Sort them by size. Metrics separate from standard. It's grunt work, mindless work. But Marcus attacks it like it's the most important job in the world. Because it is. This is his test, his chance to prove he deserves the food in his belly and the roof over his head. He sweeps for 2 hours, gets on his hands and knees to reach the tight spaces, finds bolts and washers and pieces of things he can't identify, puts them all in a coffee can for Gunner to sort later. His ribs ache, his back screams. He ignores it all. The socket sets take another 3 hours, dozens of them scattered across multiple tool chests. Mixing metric and standard is apparently a cardinal sin in Gunner's garage. Marcus sorts them with meticulous care, checks each one twice, lines them up in perfect rows. When he's done, the sun is setting. His hands are black with grime. His coveralls are soaked with sweat. Gunner walks over, inspects the work without comment, checks the floor, checks the sockets, checks under the lifts. You missed a spot, Gunner says, pointing to a dark smudge near the far wall. Marcus looks, doesn't see anything. But he grabs the broom anyway and sweeps the area again. When he's done, Gunner walks over and inspects it. Still missed it. Marcus sweeps again, harder, gets down on his knees and uses his hand to wipe the concrete. Still nothing visible. But he does it anyway because Gunner said to, and this is the test. Gunner watches him work, then starts laughing, a deep rumbling sound that shakes his whole body. I'm messing with you, kid. Floor's clean. Just wanted to see if you'd argue or if you'd do the work. Marcus sits back on his heels, breathing hard. You're an asshole. Yep. Gunner extends a hand, pulls Marcus to his feet. But you passed. Tomorrow you start learning actual work. 6 a.m. Don't be late. That becomes Marcus's life. 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the garage, learning to break down engines, to clean carburetors, to gap spark plugs and bleed brake lines. Gunner doesn't explain much, mostly just demonstrates and expects Marcus to watch, to absorb, to remember. Gunner notices Marcus anticipating which tool he needs before he asks for it, handing over the 3/8 socket when Gunner's fingers start reaching. The torque wrench when the job requires precision. The penetrating oil when bolts are stubborn. You got good instincts, Gunner says one afternoon. They're rebuilding a transmission. Delicate work. Dozens of small parts that have to go back in exactly the right order. Most shop rats take months to learn this rhythm. You picked it up in days. I'm good at watching, Marcus says. I noticed. Gunner wipes his hands, takes a break, lights a cigarette. Dutch told me about your situation. Group home, streets, living in a Bronco. Marcus tenses, waiting for pity, for condescension. Takes a particular kind of smart to survive that. Gunner continues. Book learning's one thing. Street learning's different. You got both somehow. You read that Monte Cristo book. That's college-level reading. But you also know how to make yourself invisible, how to read people. That combination's rare. Didn't feel smart, Marcus says. Felt like barely surviving. Same thing sometimes. Gunner takes a long drag. You know what we do here at the club? Motorcycles, Brotherhood. Marcus pauses. Other things. Yeah, other things. Gunner doesn't elaborate. Point is, we value loyalty above everything. Loyalty and capability. You show both you got a place here long as you want it, but you cross us, you hurt one of ours, and what happened to those rich boys will look gentle. I understand. Good. Gunner stubs out his cigarette. Now hand me that clutch plate. Let's see if you've been paying attention to which one's which. Marcus has. He grabs the right plate without hesitation. Gunner grins. The club members start calling him Ghost. At first, Marcus thinks it's mockery, a reminder of what he was, what he might still be. But the way they say it changes over days, becomes almost affectionate. Ghost, bring me that wrench. Ghost, you eat yet? Ghost, Dutch wants to see you. He's not a full member, not even close. He's a kid, a charity case. But he's their kid, their charity case. The one who took a beating for the president's daughter and didn't break. The one who works 14-hour days without complaining. The one who's learning to be useful. Sienna visits every day, brings him books from Dutch's library downstairs. Turns out the scary biker president has shelves full of classics. Hemingway, Steinbeck, Cormac McCarthy, books about men and violence and codes of honor. Marcus devours them at night in his small room, learns the language of this world through fiction and observation. Sienna sits with him during his breaks. They don't talk much at first, just exist in the same space. Two people who understand what it means to be different, to not quite fit anywhere. How's school? Marcus asked one afternoon. She's sitting on a workbench watching him clean spark plugs. Same. Everyone knows what happened. They don't talk to me directly, but I hear the whispers. Preston's gone. Derek's hand is ruined. People are scared. Of you. Of my dad. Of the club. Of what happens when you mess with us. She pauses. You change things, you know, by stepping in. Before I was just the weird girl with the biker dad. Now I'm the girl someone almost died protecting. People don't know what to do with that. You could have hit that panic button earlier, Marcus points out. Before I showed up. Why didn't you? Sienna looks at her hands. Pride, I guess. I wanted to handle it myself. Prove I didn't need my dad to fight my battles. Stupid. Not stupid, I get it. You do. Marcus sets down the spark plug. I ran away from the group home because I couldn't save my sister. Couldn't protect her when it mattered. Been trying to prove I'm not that weak kid ever since. So yeah, I get it. Sienna slides off the workbench, walks over, hugs him carefully, avoiding his still healing ribs. Marcus stiffens, not used to touch that doesn't hurt, but he doesn't pull away. We're both trying to prove something, she says into his shoulder. Maybe we don't have to anymore. Maybe we already did. Marcus thinks about this, about Preston and Derek, about broken hands and boarding schools and fear in a billionaire's eyes, about earning his place in this garage one socket wrench at a time. Maybe, he agrees, the fire starts on a Friday night. Marcus is asleep in his room when the alarms start going off. Not the clubhouse alarms, something else. Sirens in the distance, growing louder. He's at his window in seconds. Through the bars, he can see orange glow reflecting off clouds to the north. Big fire, close fire, flames lighting up half the sky. The clubhouse explodes into activity. Men running, motorcycles starting, Dutch's voice cutting through the chaos like a whip crack. That's our shop, move now. Marcus doesn't think. Just pulls on his boots in coveralls and runs outside. The club's legitimate business, their custom motorcycle shop and bar on the north side of town, is fully engulfed. Even from 3 miles away, Marcus can see flames shooting 100 feet into the air. Fire trucks are already there, tiny against the inferno, spraying water that seems to evaporate before it touches the building. The bikers stand in the clubhouse parking lot, watching their livelihood burn. Nobody speaks. The silence is heavier than the smoke billowing into the night sky. Dutch stands at the front, arms cribbed, face carved from stone. Marcus has never seen him look like this. Not angry. Angry would be better. This is cold, calculating, dangerous in a way that makes Marcus's survival instincts scream. Gunner walks up beside Dutch. Accelerants, had to be. Buildings brick and steel. Doesn't burn like that naturally. I know. Mayan's been quiet lately. Vagos, too. This doesn't feel like them. I know. So who? Dutch doesn't answer. Just watches his business turn to ash and smoke. By morning, the building is a total loss. Nothing but a black skeleton in melted chrome. Fire inspector says it'll be weeks before they can even start investigating cause. The insurance company is already making noises about arson and voided policies. Marcus watches the club members deal with it. They don't rage. Don't swear revenge against unknown enemies. Just start making calls, securing their other properties, doubling guards, going into a defensive crouch like an animal that knows predators are circling. 2 days later, the second attack comes. 3 prospect members are making a routine run down Highway 99. Supplies for another chapter up north. Simple job. Nothing dangerous. They're riding in formation 2 hours into a 4-hour trip when the first tire explodes. The lead bike goes down hard. Sparks and screaming metal as it slides across asphalt. The rider rolls protective leathers, saving him from being ground down to bone. The second and third bike swerve trying to avoid the crash. That's when the shooter opens fire. High-powered rifle, fired from an overpass 200 yards ahead. The second bike's front tire disintegrates. The third catches around through the engine block. Both bikes crash into the desert scrub on the shoulder. The riders survive. Barely. Broken bones and road rash and luck that runs out eventually. By the time backup arrives, the shooter is gone. No casings, no witnesses, just 3 wrecked bikes and 3 injured men, and a message that's perfectly clear. You're not safe anywhere. The clubhouse goes into full lockdown. Rifles pulled from hidden caches behind false walls, AR-15s, shotguns, handguns distributed to anyone with a patch. Guards posted on the roof 24/7 with night vision scopes and radios. The atmosphere shifts from relaxed Brotherhood to armed war camp in the space of an afternoon. Marcus watches it all happen, watches the transformation. These men who joked and drank and worked on bikes become something else, something focused and deadly and ready for violence. He's in the garage helping Gunner weld reinforcements on the main gate when Dutch calls a meeting. Church, they call it. The holiest room in any clubhouse, where decisions get made, where votes get taken, where the club decides who lives and who dies. Marcus isn't invited. Prospects aren't. Kids definitely aren't. But the church room shares a wall with the garage and sound carries through the old brick. Marcus can hear every word if he stops welding and listens. Dutch's voice carries the clearest. This is too clean, too professional. The fire used industrial accelerants. Chemical composition, the arson investigator says, isn't available to civilians. The highway ambush was a precision rifle shot from 200 yards. Both tires, 1 engine block. 3 shots, 3 hits. That's not street gang level. That's military. Other voices rumble agreement. Marcus recognizes Razor the club's enforcer. Mayans don't have that capability. Vagos don't either. This is outside talent. Mercs, someone asks. Has to be, Dutch says. Question is, who hired them and why? Could be anyone, Gunner's voice. We've made enemies over the years. Rival clubs, business competitors. Hell, could be someone with a grudge from 10 years ago finally scraping together enough money to come at us. Silence. Marcus can picture Dutch thinking, working the problem, trying to find the pattern in the chaos. We go defensive for now, Dutch finally says. Lock down all properties, no solo runs. Nobody goes anywhere without backup. We put out feelers to our contacts. Someone knows something. Someone always knows something. We find who's hiring these ghosts, and we make an example that'll last a generation. The meeting breaks up, men filing out of church. Marcus goes back to welding, trying to look like he wasn't listening. But his mind is racing, working the problem the same way Dutch is. Professional attackers, expensive talent. Precision operations designed to hurt but not kill. This isn't about destruction. It's about pressure, about making the club bleed resources and attention, about creating fear. Who benefits from a scared defensive Hells Angels chapter? Marcus thinks about Preston's terrified face, William Ashford's broken pride, the mansion invasion and the forced business concessions, a billionaire brought to his knees in his own home. Men like that don't accept defeat, they just buy different weapons. That evening, Marcus is taking out the trash, routine job. Walk the bags to the dumpsters in the alley behind the clubhouse. He's done it a dozen times, knows the route, knows the timing. That's why he notices when something's different. The black SUV sits 3 blocks down. Matte paint, tinted windows dark enough to be illegal, no front license plate, back plate so mud-smeared it's unreadable. It's parked in a spot that has a clear sight line to the clubhouse's main entrance, but is far enough away to seem casual. Marcus dumps the trash, doesn't stare at the SUV, doesn't change his routine, just walks back inside. But his heart is hammering. His mind is clicking through possibilities. Could be nothing. Could be someone visiting a nearby business. Could be 100 innocent explanations. Except the driver never gets out, never moves, just sits there perfectly still in a way that screams training, surveillance training, stillness born from military discipline and hours of practice. Marcus goes back inside, doesn't report it. Not yet, because he needs to be sure, needs to be certain before he brings this to Dutch. One mistake, one false alarm, and he loses credibility, loses the fragile trust he's building. So he waits, works in the garage, keeps one eye on the clock. At 2 hours, he volunteers to take out another bag of trash. Gunnar raises an eyebrow but doesn't question it. The SUV is still there. Same spot, same driver. Hasn't moved an inch in 2 hours. That's not normal. That's surveillance, professional surveillance. Marcus's hands start shaking, not from fear, from possibility, from the realization forming in his mind like pieces of a puzzle clicking together. He goes back to his room, grabs the notebook he's been keeping, the one where he writes down observations and patterns, flips to a blank page, starts sketching the alley, the street, the SUV's position, the sight lines. Then he grabs his jacket, the one Dutch had someone buy him nicer than anything he's owned in 2 years, checks his pockets, has $15 in sushi, saved from odd jobs around the clubhouse. It's enough. He finds Gunnar in the garage. I need to run an errand, personal. I'll be back in an hour. Gunnar looks up from the carburetor he's cleaning, studies Marcus's face, sees something there. You asked Dutch, ye. It's personal, Marcus repeats. Everything in this clubhouse is club business ghost. You know that. Marcus hesitates. This is the moment. Trust or no trust. Prove himself or stay invisible. I think someone's watching us, Marcus says quietly. Black SUV, 3 blocks east. Been there 2 hours without moving. Driver has military posture. I want to confirm before I bring it to Dutch. Don't want to waste his time on nothing. Gunnar sets down the carburetor, wipes his hands. Show me. They walk to the alley together. Casual. Just 2 guys taking out trash. The SUV is still there. Gunnar sees it, studies it with the practiced eye of someone who's been in this life 30 years. Could be nothing, Gunnar says. Could be. But you don't think it is? No. Gunnar is quiet for a long moment. What do you need? Dish PS tracker. Cheap one. The kind you can buy at any electronics store. Magnetic mount. I plant it under the wheel while we see where he goes when he leaves. That's Tradecraft Ghost. Where'd you learn that? Marcus thinks about 2 years on the streets, about learning to follow people without being seen, about tracking patterns and routines to find food and safety. Surviving teaches you things. Gunnar grins, wolfish and proud. Yeah, it does. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out 2 20s. Electronics store is 3 blocks west. Get the tracker, plant it, then we tell Dutch. Together. You found it, you get credit, but we confirm before we report. Smart. Marcus takes the money, practically runs to the store, buys the cheapest GPS tracker they have. $25 for a piece of plastic and a battery that'll broadcast its location to a smartphone app for up to 2 weeks. He's back at the clubhouse in 40 minutes. The SUV hasn't moved. The driver is still perfectly still behind those tinted windows. Marcus approaches from behind, moves low, uses parked cars as cover. 2 years of invisibility training paying off. He gets within 10 feet of the SUV, drops to his stomach, crawls the last bit. Under the vehicle, he can see the driver's boots through the gap between asphalt and chassis. Military boots, desert tan, the kind you get issued, not the kind you buy at a mall. Marcus pulls the tracker from his pocket, peels the adhesive backing, reaches up into the wheel well, presses it into place. The magnet holds. Hidden. Secure. He crawls back out, stands, brushes off his clothes, walks away casual as anything. Heart hammering so hard he's sure the driver can hear it. Back inside the clubhouse, he opens the tracker app on his phone, the one that came free with the device. The dot appears on the map, stationary, right where the SUV is parked. He shows Gunner. Gunner nods. Now we tell Dutch. They find him in his office, a small room off the main warehouse, desk covered in papers, computer showing spreadsheets. The legitimate side of running a motorcycle club involves more accounting than people realize. President, Gunner says from the doorway, Ghost found something. You need to hear this. Dutch looks up, sees Marcus standing behind Gunner, sees the phone in Marcus's hand. Talk, Marcus explains. The SUV, the military posture, the 2-hour surveillance, the tracker he planted, shows Dutch the app with the blinking dot. Dutch listens without interrupting. When Marcus finishes, Dutch leans back in his chair, studies the 16-year-old kid standing in his office, presenting intelligence like a trained operative. You did this on your own initiative, Dutch asks. Yes, sir. Didn't panic, didn't report immediately, confirmed the threat first, took action to gather more intelligence. Yes, sir. Dutch looks at Gunner. He always this calm under pressure. Seems to be, Gunner says. Kid's got ice in his veins. Dutch turns back to Marcus. Where'd you learn surveillance detection? Streets. You learn to spot when someone's following you, when someone's watching. Keeps you alive. And the tracker idea, TV mostly, seemed like it might work in real life. Dutch almost smiles, almost. It does work. Professional work. You just did what most of my boys wouldn't think to do. He stands, walks around the desk, towers over Marcus. You know what this means if you're right? Means the people hitting us are still here, still watching. Means we can track them back to whoever hired them. And if you're wrong, then I wasted $25 and we're back where we started. Dutch nods slowly. Gunner, get Razor and 2 others. Arm up, but stay subtle. We're going to see where our friend in the SUV goes when he leaves. Ghost, you're with me. You found him. You get to see this through. Marcus's pulse spikes. This is it. This is the moment. Not just a shop rat anymore. Not just a kid they're feeding out of obligation. This is him proving he belongs. Proving he's useful beyond manual labor. They watch the tracker for 3 hours. The SUV doesn't move. The club members gear up. Handguns and concealed holsters, razors and knives and boots. They look like regular bikers heading out for a ride. Nobody would guess they're loaded for war. Finally, at 11 p.m., the dot starts moving. The SUV pulls out of its parking spot, heads east, moves at normal speed. No evasive maneuvers. Whoever's driving doesn't know they're tagged. Dutch and Marcus follow in an unmarked van, Gunner and Razor on bikes behind them. They keep 3 or 4 car lengths back. Let other traffic flow between them. Professional tail that doesn't get spotted unless you're looking for it. The SUV drives for 20 minutes, heads downtown, pulls into the underground parking of the Grand Regent Hotel, the fanciest hotel in Bakersfield, 30 floors of glass and steel, rooms that start at 400 a night and go up from there. The dot on the tracker stops moving, settles in the parking garage. Dutch parks the van a block away, kills the engine, looks at Marcus. You know this building. Marcus stares at the hotel, memory flooding back. Yeah, I lived behind it for 3 months before I found the Bronco. Used to sleep on the steam grates over the south alley. Kitchen staff would prop the service door open to smoke. I'd sneak in sometimes when it was too cold outside. Know the layout pretty well. The man in the SUV just parked in that hotel's garage. This hotel. Dutch taps the building on his phone's GPS. You know who owns the Grand Regent? Marcus's blood runs cold. Pieces clicking together. William Ashford. William Ashford, Dutch confirms. The billionaire whose son we ran out of town, whose mansion we invaded, who we extorted for 30% of his business. Dutch's gaze unyielding as tempered iron is locked on Marcus. You think that's coincidence? No, sir. Neither do I. Dutch pulls out his phone, makes a call. I need everything you can find on private security firms operating in California. Military contractors, ex-special forces, black ops type operations. And I need William Ashford's financial records for the last month. Every wire transfer, every check, every transaction over $10,000. He hangs up, looks at Marcus. We're going to find out who he hired. Then we're going to have a conversation about the cost of hiring ghosts to fight Hell's Angels. Marcus stares at the hotel, at the building where he used to hide from the cold, where he knows every service entrance, every blind spot, every camera location learned through months of invisible living. I can get you in, Marcus says quietly. If you need to get in without being seen, I know how. Dutch goes very still. Say that again. The Grand Regent. I know every service entrance. The kitchen staff props the south service door with a cinder block between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. so they can smoke without setting off fire alarms. There's a freight elevator that goes from the basement to the roof. Doesn't require key cards. They use it for moving furniture and supplies. No cameras in the service corridors because the union complained about surveillance. I could walk you through that building blindfolded. Dutch stares at him, really stares, seeing something he didn't see before. You lived rough for 2 years, but you weren't just surviving. You were learning, mapping, preparing. Habits die hard, Marcus says. I used to write down everything, every pattern, every weakness, never knew when I'd need it. And now you do. Dutch's hand lands on Marcus's shoulder, heavy, solid, the grip of a man making a decision. You just became a lot more valuable ghost. You found our enemy, and you might have just given us the way to end this war before it really starts. He squeezes once, hard enough to hurt, hard enough to matter. You did good work today, real good work. Now let's see if we can turn this information into action. The van starts moving again, heading back to the clubhouse. Marcus sits in the passenger seat, mind racing. He found them. He tracked them. He gave the club something they didn't have before. Intelligence, capability, a way forward. For the first time since the beating in the alley, Marcus doesn't feel like a victim being protected. He feels like a weapon being aimed. And the look in Dutch's eyes says he's about to be pointed at something that needs destroying. The war is coming, and Marcus just earned his place in it. The War Council happens at midnight. Every patched member of the Bakersfield Charter crammed into the church room. Marcus stands in the corner, not at the table, not a member. But Dutch pointed to the spot and said, "Stay," so he stays. The evidence is spread across the table like a battle map. The GPS tracker data showing the SUV's pattern over the last week. Always the same. Park 3 blocks from the clubhouse. Observe for 2 to 4 hours. Return to the Grand Regent's underground parking. Financial records pulled through contacts Marcus doesn't want to know about. Wire transfers from William Ashford's accounts to a shell company registered in Delaware. $2 million, paid in 3 installments over the last month. The shell company's registered agent is a lawyer in Los Angeles who specializes in what he calls private security consulting. Translation, he arranges mercenary contracts for people who can't go to the police. Titan Security, Dutch says, tapping a printout. Ex-military contractors, mostly Delta and SEAL washouts. Guys who got kicked out for being too aggressive or too loose with the rules of engagement. They hire out to drug cartels, corrupt governments, and apparently billionaires with bruised egos. How many, Razor asks. Best guess is 6 to 8 operators. The fire was a 2-man job minimum. The highway ambush required a spotter and a shooter. The surveillance SUV rotates drivers. We're looking at a small team. Professionals. Expensive. What's the play? Gunner leans back in his chair. We can't hit them on the street. Too mobile, too trained. They'll see us coming. We don't hit them on the street, Dutch says. We hit them where they sleep. Silence falls over the room. Everyone knows what that means. An assault on the Grand Regent Hotel in the middle of downtown Bakersfield where cops can respond in minutes. That's suicide, someone says. Place has security, cameras everywhere. We'd never make it to the penthouse. Dutch looks at Marcus. Ghost, you said you know a way in. Walk me through it. Every eye in the room turns to the 16-year-old kid in the corner. Marcus's heart hammers. This is it. This is where he proves he's more than just a survivor they took pity on. This is where he becomes useful or becomes a liability. He steps up to the table, points to the hotel's floor plan, Dutch pulled up on his tablet. Main entrance seat is a death trap, lobby security, cameras covering every angle. Elevators require key cards after 10 p.m. So we're stuck, Razor says. No, there's a service entrance, south side of the building. Marcus traces the route with his finger. Kitchen staff props it open with a cinder block between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Fire code violation, but nobody cares because it lets them smoke without triggering alarms. From there, you access the service corridors. No cameras. Union fought that battle years ago. Service corridors go where, Dutch asks. Everywhere. Kitchen, laundry, housekeeping, and the freight elevators. Marcus taps a different spot on the map. 2 of them. They move furniture and supplies. Don't require key cards. Big enough for 6 men if you squeeze. They go from basement to roof. Roof access. Metal door, probably locked but nothing heavy duty. The penthouse is technically floor 70, but there's roof access above it for maintenance. HV, AC units, satellite dishes, and a terrace. Marcus looks up. If you wanted to breach from above, that's your entry point. The room is dead silent. Dutch studies the map. Studies Marcus. You're sure about this? About the service door, the freight elevator? I lived there for 3 months, used that route dozens of times. You were homeless and sneaking into a luxury hotel, someone says. Skeptical. How'd you not get caught? Because I was invisible. Marcus says simply, nobody looks at homeless people. We're background noise. I could walk through the kitchen at 2 a.m. and the staff would look right through me. Being invisible is a skill. I'm very good at it. Dutch nods slowly, a decision forming behind that hard stare. Here's what we do. 3 vans, unmarked. We approach at 2 a.m. when downtown is dead. Ghost leads a small team through the service entrance to the freight elevator. Takes us to the roof. We breach from above. Hit the penthouse fast and hard. Secure Ashford and whatever mercs are guarding him. Get the contracts, get proof, then we negotiate. Negotiate what? Gunner asks. Ashford calls off his dogs, or we deliver his ledger to the FBI and every cartel he's laundered money for. Plus, we might accidentally release his home address to some very interested parties. Dutch's smile is a terrible thing. He hired mercs to make us bleed. We're going to make him understand the difference between hired guns and men who bleed for each other. The plan solidifies over the next hour. Personnel assignments, equipment checks, contingencies if cops show up, or if the mercs are better armed than expected. Marcus listens to it all. Watches grown men who've lived this life for decades work through tactical problems with the efficiency of a military unit. Finally, Dutch turns to him. Ghost, you guide us to the freight elevator. Get us to the roof. Then you extract, take van 3, and drive back to the clubhouse. This isn't your fight. Marcus opens his mouth to argue, closes it. Dutch is right. He's 16, untrained, unarmed. He'd be a liability in a firefight. But the words stick in his throat anyway. Because these men are going into danger because of information he provided, intelligence he gathered. If they get hurt, if they die, that's on him. Understood, he finally says. Dutch nods. Good. Get some rest. We move in 6 hours. The vans roll out at 1:47 a.m. 3 of them. Black panel vans with tinted windows and plates registered to shell companies. Marcus rides in the lead van with Dutch and Gunner, 3 more men in the back, all of them armed, AR-15S shotguns, handguns and holsters, body armor under heavy jackets. The city is dead. Empty streets, traffic lights blinking yellow. The only movement is the occasional taxi or drunk stumbling home from the bars that closed an hour ago. The vans move slow, normal speed, nothing to attract attention. They park in the alley behind the Grand Regent at exactly 2 a.m., kill the engines, sit in darkness for 2 minutes, listening, watching, making sure no late-night joggers or security guards are nearby. Marcus's hands won't stop shaking. Not fear exactly, adrenaline, the same thing he felt in the alley behind the bowling alley. The feeling of standing on the edge of something that'll change everything. Dutch puts a hand on his shoulder. You good? Yeah. Remember, in and out. Get us to the elevator. Then you leave. Clear. Clear. They exit the vans in silence. 11 men total, moving like shadows in the pre-dawn darkness. Marcus leads. He knows every inch of this alley, knows where the dumpsters sit, where the steam grates vent heat, where the security camera mounted on the building across the street has a blind spot. The service door is exactly where he said it'd be, propped open with a cinder block. Cigarette butts scattered on the ground outside. Marcus slips through first. The others follow. Inside smells like industrial cleaner and old grease. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. The corridor is empty. Night shift kitchen staff are on break or asleep in the basement. Marcus moves on muscle memory. Left turn, down a hallway lined with storage lockers. Right turn, past the laundry room where massive dryers tumble 24/7. The Freshade elevator sits at the end of the corridor. Dented steel doors, call button covered in grease and fingerprints. Marcus presses it. The wait feels like hours, but is probably 30 seconds. Finally, the doors grind open. The elevator is huge, designed to move furniture and equipment. The 11 men fit with room to spare. Marcus presses the button marked R for roof. The doors close. The elevator lurches upward. Nobody speaks. The only sound is breathing and the whine of the elevator motor. Marcus watches the floor numbers tick by. 10, 20, 30. His heart hammers in his chest. 40, 50, 60. At 70, the elevator shudders to a stop. The doors open onto a small concrete landing. A metal door with a push bar leads outside. Dutch points to 3 men. They move to the door, test it, locked but not seriously. One of them pulls out a pry bar. 30 seconds of work, and the lock pops with a sharp crack. Cold air rushes in. Night wind carrying the smell of the city from 70 stories up. They file out onto the roof. Massive HVAC units hum and rattle. Satellite dishes point at the sky, and below them, accessed by a short metal staircase, is the penthouse terrace. Dutch turns to Marcus, hands him keys. Van 3, go, now. Marcus takes the keys, looks at the men preparing to breach, at Gunner checking his shotgun, at Razor taping the terrace door with breaching charges, at Dutch's face calm and focused and ready for violence. Good luck, Marcus says. Dutch nods. You did good work, Ghost. Get safe. Marcus turns toward the elevator, takes 3 steps, stops. Every instinct he has is screaming. Not danger. Wrong. This is wrong. These men are going into combat because of him, because he found the enemy, because he led them here, and he's supposed to just drive away, leave them, save himself, like he left Riley, like he was too small to help. Marcus looks at the elevator, then at the stairwell door, the one that leads down into the building proper. Emergency stairs, 70 floors of them. He makes a choice. Instead of getting in the elevator, Marcus walks to the stairwell door, opens it quietly, slips inside. The stairs go down forever. Concrete and metal handrails, emergency lights casting everything in dim red. Marcus descends fast, not all the way. That's suicide. But he gets to the 50th floor, pulls out the cheap radio he took from the garage, the one Gunner uses to communicate with tow truck drivers. He keys the mic. Dutch, it's Ghost. I'm on 50. Emergency stairwell. If you need an exit route or backup, I'm here. Silence. Then Dutch's voice, tight with controlled anger. I told you to leave. I know, but I'm not leaving you. If this goes bad, you need options. I'm an option. More silence. Marcus can picture Dutch's face. The war between ordering him out and recognizing the tactical value of having someone in reserve. Finally, stay on that floor. Don't move unless I call. If I don't call, you run. Understood. Understood. The radio goes silent. Marcus sits on the stairs, back against the wall, heart pounding, waiting. 3 floors above in the penthouse that occupies the entire top floor of the Grand Regent, William Ashford paces the length of his temporary home. Temporary because his actual mansion feels too exposed now, too vulnerable after the invasion. So he's been living here, in this fortress of glass and steel with round-the-clock security. Silas sits on a white leather couch, calm, professional, cleaning a suppressed Heckler & Koch pistol with the detached efficiency of someone who's done this 10,000 times. He's the commander of the Titan security team, ex-Delta Force, kicked out for unauthorized actions in Fallujah that left too many civilian bodies and not enough paperwork. He's been doing private contracts ever since. This is just another job. The fire was supposed to break them, William says for the 3rd time tonight. Scotch sloshing in his glass. His hands shake. My source at the police department say the club is locked down tight. They're not panicking. They're preparing for war. How much longer until you eliminate Wolf? Silas doesn't look up from his weapon. Patience, Mr. Ashford. Men like Wolf are feral dogs. You don't walk into their den. You smoke with them out. You shoot them when they run. We hit their prospects on the highway. Tomorrow we hit their supply lines. By the end of the week, Wolf will be forced to move. That's when we take his head. It better be, William snaps. My son is hiding in the guest bedroom, terrified to even look out a window. I'm paying you $2 million to secure my city, to put these animals back in their cages where they belong. And we will, Silas says, calm, cold. Trust the process. William opens his mouth to argue. The argument dies as both terrace doors explode inward simultaneously. The breaching charges are small, precise, military grade. They don't destroy the entire wall, just shatter the bulletproof glass into a million diamonds that cascade across the marble floor like deadly rain. The concussive blast knocks William off his feet, sends his scotch glass flying. Before the smoke clears, Hell's Angels pour through the opening. They move like a wave, like a force of nature. Dutch first, AR-15 up and sweeping. Gunner right behind him, Razor flanking left. The others spreading out with the practiced efficiency of men who have done this before. Silas is fast. Training kicks in instantly. He rolls off the couch, brings his pistol up, fires 2 rounds suppressed. Quiet pops instead of thunder. 1 round sparks off Gunner's body armor. The other goes wide. Razor is faster. He's across the room before Silas can adjust aim. Swings his shotgun like a club. The stock connects with Silas's wrist. Bone cracks. The pistol drops. Silas reaches for his combat knife, but he's surrounded now. 3 bikers tackle him, drive him to the imported rug, rain down blows until he stops moving. The whole thing takes 40 seconds. The penthouse is secured. Mercs neutralize. William Ashford crawls backward across the floor, glass crunching under his expensive suit, his face white with terror. Scrambling away from the armed men who just destroyed his fortress like it was made of paper. Dutch doesn't rush, walks slowly through the smoke, boots crunching on glass, a R-15 hanging from its tactical sling. He pulls a knife from his belt, not to use, just to hold, to show William what's possible. "Hello, Dick," Dutch rumbles. His voice fills the space like thunder. "We need to talk about the men you hired to hurt my family." William's back hits a marble pillar, trapped, hands up, shaking. "Harper, please. I can double whatever you want. 5 million, 10 million. Just name your price. You people never learn." Dutch crouches down, eye level with the billionaire, the smell of danger rolling off him like heat. "You think paper is ultimate power. You think you can buy the Reaper when he comes knocking. But here I am, in your fortress, through your security, past your hired killers, and all your money can't stop what happens next." A door opens, the guest bedroom. Preston Ashford steps out, still in his pajamas, holding a baseball bat he's too terrified to swing. He stares at his father, at the president of the Hells Angels crouched over him like a wolf over prey, at the armed men standing in the ruins of their safe haven. The illusion shatters, the myth of his father's omnipotence. Gone. Preston sees his father weeping, begging for his life, looking small and weak and utterly defeated. "Dad," Preston whispers. Dutch looks at the boy, then back to William. "You didn't send him to Switzerland. You hid him in a glass castle. Figured you could protect him with money and mercs." He shakes his head slowly. "A man who can't protect his own blood without hiring ghosts isn't a man at all." Marcus sits on the stairs at the 50th floor, radio clutched in his hand. He heard the breaching charges, distant thumps that shook the building's frame. Then silence. His leg bounces nervously, every instinct screaming to do something. But Dutch said stay, so he stays. The radio crackles. "Ghost," Marcus keys the mic immediately. "Here. Building's layout. Is there a private office near the penthouse study or workspace?" Marcus closes his eyes, remembering, mapping the building in his mind. "Yeah, down the hall from the penthouse entrance. Corner suite. Ashford's private study when he stays here." "Why?" "Need you to check something. There's a hall that leads east from the penthouse main doors. 3rd door on the right, should be unlocked. Look for financial documents. Ledgers, anything that looks important. Hidden compartments, false panels. Rich guys always have them. You want me to break in? I want you to use those observation skills. Find me something I can use for leverage. Can you do that?" Marcus is already moving, down the stairs, fast but quiet. On it. He exits the stairwell at 70. The hallway is empty, plush carpet, expensive artwork on the walls. Space where each square foot costs more than most people make in a month. Third door on the right. Solid wood, brass handle. Marcus tries it. Unlocked just like Dutch guessed. The study is smaller than expected, but immaculate. Mahogany desk, leather chair, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, bookshelves lined with leather-bound volumes that have never been read. Marcus moves to the desk, starts searching, drawers filled with pens and notepads and business cards. A laptop locked with a password. Nothing useful. He sits in the chair, thinks. Rich people hide things, but where in movies it's always behind paintings or in hidden wall safes. But that's obvious. Security theater. Marcus looks at the desk itself, runs his hands along the underside, feels for catches or buttons or irregularities. Nothing. Checks the drawers again, pulls them out completely, looks at the empty cavity behind them. There, in the back panel, a seam that doesn't quite line up. He reaches in, presses. The panel clicks, swings open on a hidden hinge. Behind it is a space maybe 6 inches deep, and inside that space is a leather-bound ledger. Marcus pulls it out, opens it, pages and pages of handwritten entries, dates, amounts, account numbers, offshore banks, shell companies, payments to people and entities that make Marcus's skin crawl even though he doesn't understand half of it, but he understands enough. This is proof, evidence, something that could destroy a man like William Ashford. Marcus keys the radio. Dutch, found something. Ledger, financial records, looks important. Bring it to me. Marcus tucks the book under his arm, walks back down the hall. The penthouse doors are open, smoke still hanging in the air. He steps through. The scene is controlled chaos. Silas and 3 other mercs zip-tied and unconscious and on the floor. William on his knees, Preston standing frozen by the bedroom door. Dutch and his men positioned around the room like they own it. Dutch sees Marcus, sees the ledger. Something changes in his face, a predatory smile spreading across his beard. Marcus walks over, hands Dutch the book. Found it in a hidden compartment in his desk. Dutch flips through pages. His smile gets bigger, more terrible. He looks down at William Ashford. Well, 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 seems my ghost just found the keys to your entire kingdom, Dick. He crouches again, opens the ledger so William can see. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, bribes to city council members, payments to shell companies, and oh, look at this, wire transfers to Mexican cartels. You've been laundering their money through your real estate deals. The FBI is going to love this. The IRS is going to love this. And the cartels, Dutch's eyes glitter with malice. They're really going to love knowing their business partner kept detailed records of their transactions. All color drains from William's face. His mouth opens and closes. No sound comes out. Here's what's going to happen, Dutch says quietly. Deadly quiet. Tomorrow morning, you're going to call your lawyers. You're going to sign over your primary development company to an offshore trust managed by me. Your commercial holdings. This hotel, all of it. Legal, binding, permanent. You're taking everything, William whispers. Not everything. You get to keep your life. Your son gets to keep his. That's more than you deserve. Dutch leans closer. But if you refuse, if you make one phone call to the police, if you even think about fighting back, this ledger goes to the FBI, the IRS, and I personally deliver copies to every cartel contact listed in these pages. They'll want to discuss your record-keeping habits. Probably won't be a pleasant conversation. Please, you're going to know exactly what it feels like to have nothing, to be nobody, to be invisible, just like the kid you tried to have killed. Dutch stands, looks at Marcus. Good work, Ghost. You just ended a war without firing a shot. Preston stares at Marcus, recognition dawning. The scrawny, homeless kid from the alley. The one Derek beat half to death. Standing here now, in his father's penthouse, holding the weapon that destroyed their family. The reversal is complete. Dutch's team extracts in 15 minutes. Merck's left bound and gagged. William left with the rubble of his empire and a phone number to call when he's ready to sign papers. They take the service elevator down, exit through the kitchen, into the vans, gone before the first police car rolls past 3 blocks away, responding to a noise complaint. The drive back to the clubhouse is silent. Dutch sits in the passenger seat, flipping through the ledger, occasionally chuckling at particularly damning entries. Marcus drives van 3, hands steady on the wheel, mind still processing what just happened. They pull into the clubhouse compound at 4:47 a.m. Sun not quite up yet. Sky going from black to gray. The gates close behind them. Lock secure. The men pile out of the vans, stripping off body armor, checking weapons, running post-mission protocols like it's second nature. Nobody's hurt, not a scratch. In and out, clean. Sienna appears in the doorway. She must have been waiting, watching. The moment she sees Marcus, she's running, crosses the parking lot at a sprint, slams into him, arms around his neck, holding tight. "You're okay," she says into his shoulder. "You're okay." "I'm okay." Marcus's arms come up, awkward at first, then tighter, holding her back. "You were supposed to stay here," she says, pulling back, angry now. "Dad said you were just guiding them in." "I stayed in the stairwell, didn't fight. You still went. You still put yourself in danger." "Yeah, I did." Marcus meets her eyes. "Because I'm not good at walking away anymore. Because these people are my family now. And you don't abandon family." Sienna's anger melts. Tears replace it. She hugs him again, harder this time. "You're an idiot." "Probably." Dutch walks past them, stops, looks at Marcus. "Good work tonight, Ghost. Real good work. Get some sleep. We'll talk later." The clubhouse erupts in celebration that evening. War's over. Victory complete. The music is heavy metal thunder shaking the walls. The smell of grilling meat and cheap beer thicken the air. Men laughing, shouting, reliving the raid with ever-growing embellishments. Marcus sits at the end of the bar, nursing a Coke, watching the celebration with a small smile. He did this. His intelligence, his planning, his guts. He's part of this victory even if he didn't fire a shot. Gunnar appears beside him, slides onto a bar stool. "You know what you did tonight, kid? Helped. You led a mission. At 16 years old, you provided intelligence-planned infiltration routes and improvised field support that led to the complete destruction of a billionaire's empire. You didn't throw a punch, didn't fire a weapon, but you won the war." Gunnar's hand lands on Marcus's shoulder. "That's worth more than any beating you could have taken. That's using your head. Dutch sees it. We all see it. Just did what I could." "Exactly, and what you can do is think. Plan. Stay invisible when everyone else is loud. That's rare. That's valuable." Gunnar squeezes his shoulder. "You earned your place here, Ghost. Not because we feel sorry for you, because you're useful. Remember that." The music cuts dead. Sudden silence falls over the clubhouse like a hammer. Marcus's stomach drops. He knows what this is. He's seen it before in movies, read about it in books. This is church. This is where the club makes decisions, where they vote, where they determine who belongs and who doesn't. Dutch stands at the head of the long wooden table, every eye in the room locked on their president. "Ghost," he says, his voice carries, commands. Front and center. Marcus's legs feel like water, but he slides off the bar stool, walks through the sea of bikers. They part for him, silent, watching, judging. He stops a few feet from Dutch, looking up at the man who saved his life and gave him purpose. Dutch looks down, face stern, showing no emotion. 3 months ago, you were a ghost, invisible, living in dirt, eating from dumpsters. The world looked right through you like you didn't exist." His voice drops, deepens. But when my daughter was backed into a corner by predators, you didn't look away. You stepped into the fire. You took a beating that would have killed most men. Broken ribs, fractured skull, internal bleeding. You nearly died. And for what? For a girl you didn't even know. The room is silent. Everyone listening. You healed up. I offered you a place to stay, food to eat. You didn't take it like charity. You worked. 14-hour days in the garage, learning, earning your keep, never asking for handouts, never expecting special treatment because of what you did for Sienna. Dutch pauses, lets the silence build. Then my club was attacked. Professional mercenaries hired by a billionaire with a grudge. They burned our shop, shot our boys. We didn't know who or why. Couldn't find them. Couldn't fight back. We were blind. Dutch's hard stare locks on Marcus. Until you. You spotted surveillance we missed. Planted a tracker on your own initiative. Led us to our enemy. Then you found the one piece of evidence that could destroy him. You didn't use violence. You used intelligence. You didn't fight. You thought. And you won. Dutch reaches under the table. Marcus's heart hammers. He knows what's coming. Hoped for it. Feared it. Didn't dare believe it was real. Dutch pulls out a black leather vest, cut, not a full patch. Marcus is too young for that, but it's customized, worked on, made specifically for him. On the back, arched across the shoulders, property of Bakersfield. On the front, over the left breast, a small white patch with one word stitched in black thread, Ghost. Out here, blood isn't about who birthed you, Dutch says. His voice thick with something that might be emotion if Marcus didn't know better. Blood is about who bleeds for you, who stands beside you when the world comes calling, who proves their worth not with words, but with action. He holds the vest out. You don't sleep in dirt anymore, son. You don't eat from dumpsters. You don't hide in shadows unless you choose to. You're family now. You've earned it, every bit of it. Marcus's hands shake as he reaches out, takes the leather. It's heavy, heavier than it should be. The weight of belonging, of responsibility, of finally having something worth protecting. He slips it over his shoulders. The leather settles onto his back like armor, like a second skin. It smells like the clubhouse, like motor oil and tobacco and belonging. Dutch extends his hand. Marcus takes it. The grip is crushing. The handshake of equals, of brothers, of family. Welcome to the family ghost, Dutch says. The clubhouse explodes. Men roaring, glasses slamming on tables. Gunner's bear hug nearly cracks Marcus's ribs all over again. Razor slaps his back hard enough to sting. Sienna pushes through the crowd, grabs his face, kisses his forehead, tears streaming down her face. You did it, she whispers. You earned it. Marcus can't speak, can't find words, can only stand there in his new vest, surrounded by men who've accepted him, who've claimed him, who've given him what he's never had before, a place, a purpose, a family. The celebration runs late into the night. Marcus loses track of the hours. The vest shifts on his shoulders with each movement, leather already molding to his frame. Men he barely knows clap him on the back, offer him drinks. He politely refuses, tell him stories about earning their own colors. The music pounds, the laughter rolls, the Brotherhood wraps around him like the smoke from Gunner cigars. But as the night wears on and the crowd thins, Marcus finds himself back at the bar. Just him and the vest and the weight of everything that's changed in 3 months. From invisible to invaluable. From sleeping in a Bronco to wearing property of Bakersfield across his shoulders. Sienna sits beside him, quiet. She doesn't need to say anything. They've both been through the fire, both earned their place in worlds that tried to ignore them. What happens now, she asks eventually. Marcus touches the ghost patch on his chest, feels the stitching under his fingertips. I keep earning it, every day. You already did. No, Marcus looks at her. Earning it once gets you the vest. Keeping it means proving it wasn't a mistake. That's the real work. Sienna smiles. You sound like my dad. Good, he's usually right. The weeks that follow blur into routine. Not the desperate routine of survival, wake, scavenge, hide, but the earned routine of purpose. Marcus works Gunner's garage by day, studies criminal justice at night. Razor teaches him to fight properly. Now not the wild swings of desperation, but calculated defense. Dutch brings him into planning sessions, asks his opinion on security, on patterns, on threats. The vest isn't decoration, it's responsibility. And Marcus carries it the way he carried that battered Monte Cristo book, close constant proof that transformation is possible. 3 months pass, then 6. Marcus Crawford wakes at 5:30 a.m. Old habits die hard. The room is bigger now, still in the clubhouse but with actual furniture. A real bed, a desk, bookshelves filled with the classics Dutch keeps giving him, a laptop for the online courses he's taking, GED completed, community college criminal justice classes started. Dutch insists, says if Marcus is going to run intelligence for the club, he needs to understand law enforcement, how they think, how they operate. Marcus is 17 now, taller, not by much, but enough to notice. He's put on weight, muscle from working in the garage. From the boxing training Razor runs him through 3 times a week. He'll never be big, but he's not the scrawny ghost from the alley anymore. The vest hangs on a hook by his door. He touches it every morning. A reminder, a promise to keep earning it. Breakfast is quiet. Most of the club is still asleep after a late night. Marcus eats alone in the kitchen. Eggs and toast and coffee, real food, regular meals, things he still doesn't take for granted. Dutch appears in the doorway, holding a file folder. Got something for you. Marcus looks up. Job, information. Dutch sits, opens the folder. Inside is a photograph of a group home, Fresno, and a list of names. Took some digging, called in some favors, but I found her. Marcus's heart stops. He knows before Dutch says it, knows from the look in the older man's eyes. Riley Crawford, age 11, foster home in Fresno, same city you ran from, different family. From what my contact says, it's a good placement, stable. The parents actually give a damn. Dutch slides the folder across the table. Thought you'd want to know. Marcus stares at the photograph, at the address, at the proof that his sister is alive, is safe, is out there somewhere living her life. I want to see her, Marcus says quietly. I figured, that's why I got this. Dutch slides a second paper across. A court document. You're 17. In California, you can petition for guardianship of a sibling if you can prove stable housing and income. I had our lawyer draw up the papers. You work for the club. You live in club housing, steady income, stable environment. It's not guaranteed, but it's a shot. Marcus looks up, eyes burning. Why? Because you earned it. Because family matters. Because you've been carrying that weight for 3 years and maybe it's time to put it down. Dutch stands. You want to go get your sister, I'll back you. Legal, proper, the right way, but it's your call, Ghost. Your mission. You want backup, you got it. You want to do it alone, that's fine too. Marcus stands, walks around the table, and for the first time he hugs Dutch Wolf, the president of the Hells Angels Bakersfield Charter, the man who saved him, who gave him a home, who turned him from invisible into invaluable. Dutch's arms come up slowly, awkwardly, then firm, patting Marcus's back. You did good, kid, real good. Now go get your sister. 2 hours later, Marcus is on his motorcycle. Not borrowed, his. The club gave it to him 3 months ago. A restored Harley Sportster, black and chrome, fast enough, reliable enough. His. The ride to Fresno takes 3 hours. Highway 99 stretching north through agricultural fields and small towns. Marcus keeps the speed reasonable. Legal. He's not running anymore. Not hiding. He's going to get his sister. The foster home is a small ranch house on a quiet street, well-maintained, kids' bikes in the driveway, swing set in the backyard. It looks safe, looks like a real home. Marcus parks across the street, sits on his bike, watching. A woman comes out, mid-40s, kind face. She's helping a small girl with a backpack. School morning routine. The girl is Riley, taller than Marcus remembers, hair longer, but unmistakably his sister. His hands grip the handlebars, every instinct screaming to run over, to grab her, to never let go again. But he doesn't, because that's not how this works. That's not what's best for her. She's safe here, happy maybe, and bursting back into her life after 3 years might do more harm than good. His phone buzzes. Text from Dutch. "You good," Marcus types back. She looks happy, safe, good home. "What's your play?" Marcus watches Riley climb into the foster mother's car, backpack on, smiling about something, living a life that doesn't include memories of that night, of him failing to protect her. "I'm going to do it right, file the papers, go through the system, prove I can give her a good home, then I'll reach out, legal, proper when I'm ready." Smart. Proud of you, Ghost. Marcus tucks his phone away. The vest shifts on his shoulders as he settles into the seat. Leather worn soft from 6 months of wear, smelling of motor oil and tobacco, and the indefinable scent of belonging. Property of Bakersfield. Ghost. Names earned, not given. His phone buzzes again, Dutch checking in like he does every few hours. Marcus smiles, texts back one word, home. The word doesn't taste like ash anymore. Doesn't feel like a lie. Home isn't the rusted Bronco or the group home in Fresno or the steam grates behind luxury hotels. Home is the clubhouse where men call him Ghost with affection, where Sienna brings him books, where Gunnar teaches him and Razor trains him, and Dutch trusts him with intelligence work that matters. Home is family, and family is who you bleed for. Marcus starts his bike, takes one last look at his sister. Then he rides back to Bakersfield, back to the clubhouse, back to the family that took an invisible boy and made him into something worth being, back to the work of earning his place every single day. Because Marcus Crawford learned something in that alley 3 months ago, something the streets taught him, something the club reinforced every day since. You don't save people by being strong. You save them by being smart, by being patient, by being ready when the moment comes. He was too small to save Riley when he was 14, but he's not too small anymore. Not too weak, not too broken. He's Ghost, property of Bakersfield, a Hell's Angels brother in all but patch. And when the time is right, when everything is in place, he'll bring Riley home. Not because someone gave him permission, not because someone saved him, because he earned it. The motorcycle disappears down Highway 99, heading south, toward home, toward family, toward a future that 16-year-old Marcus, sleeping in a rusted Bronco, could never have imagined. The ghost who became a phantom. The invisible boy who learned that the deadliest weapon isn't violence or money or power. It's the ability to see what others miss, to move where others can't follow, to survive when others would break. And most importantly, to know that family isn't who you're born to. Family is who bleeds for you, who stands with you, who gives you a place to belong when the whole world treats you like you don't exist. Marcus Crawford has a family now, has a home, has a purpose, and somewhere in Fresno, his sister goes to school not knowing that her big brother is coming for her, that he's building something strong enough to hold them both, that he never forgot, never gave up, never stopped being her protector even when he was too broken to stand. The story isn't over. It's just beginning. And this time Marcus isn't surviving. He's living.